Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for your flexibility and your patience in this time of our first town hall meeting. Scheduling is not easy for anyone, and the schedules, especially during the summer months with vacations and games and all sorts of other commitments, make this our first one at a difficult time. But it's the first of town hall meetings, first of question and answer sessions. We will have many, many more. But we wanted to take our opportunity now to meet with you so that we can address your questions and concerns. So we welcome all of you, and together as a faith community, let us begin with prayer.
We're going to begin with a prayer titled, "We Are Prophets of a Future Not Our Own," by the recently canonized Esther Romero. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. It helps now and then to step back and take the long view. The kingdom is not only beyond our efforts, it is beyond our vision. We accomplish in our lifetime only a tiny fraction of the magnificent enterprise that is God's work. We plant seeds that one day will grow. We water seeds already planted, knowing that they hold future promise. We cannot do everything, and there is a sense of liberation in realizing that. This enables us to do something, and to do it very well. It may be incomplete, but is a beginning, a step along the way, an opportunity for God's grace to enter and do the rest. We may never see the end results, but that is the difference between the master builders and the worker. We are workers, not master builders, ministers, not messiahs. We are prophets of a future not our own. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Last week, we shared with you our preliminary document for our safe restart and reopening of our school. I'd like to state at the onset that this is a draft plan, that the decisions that were made within this plan were drawn from the suggestions that you gave us in surveys, the comments that we made, that were made to us about the preferences that families would like. We recognize that it is a draft. It is a work in progress. It has evolved from the time that we released it last week to now, and will continue to do so. So on the front end, we hope you recognize that we are open to your concerns. We are open to the fact that many of you are at varying levels of comfort in your selection about whether or not to return to school. So what we've done is offer two choices at this point. One day for 5 days face-to-face, and then also the opportunity for synchronous learning. With this, the first of the changes that we'll share with you is that we have been able to gain ESSER funds from the CARES Act. So all of our classrooms will be equipped with the Swivel computer that is now recording this session here. So we will, when you respond to us as far as your decision to either go face-to-face or remote, place your child on a class list, and the child's class that you are assigned to will be the person who, if and when we need to switch to remote learning, will be the teacher of distance learning. So that's one of the biggest changes that we face, excuse me, in the document as well. That all of our teachers will be prepared for distance learning for professional development, and distance learning itself will have a special plan in place and look different than what your child experienced in the spring of the year. The other part about the plan is that some of our families are growing in concern about their attendance. It's your choice. It is a plan that we offer you, that we give you the choice to say you can attend, and if you ever have to go into a remote situation, that would be determined by the Board of Health, our Ohio Department of Education, the county, We are prepared to make that transition very swiftly and quickly. That part of distance learning is still in the development stages. We have a lot of it in place, but we'll be releasing that in future town halls too as well.
So we wanted to give you an update on some of the things that we have changed to our reentry plan. We realized that this is a challenging decision for families. And so originally we asked for your response by July 24th, and we're going to extend that a week. July 31st is going to be the deadline that we asked that you respond to the document online, that if you choose to be in person or online. We do need a deadline. I know we cannot extend it much farther into August. We need to make sure that we have devices in place, devices ready to be sent home if needed. And so therefore we are able to extend it a week, but the 31st is going to be our deadline for that. We've also made a change to the face coverings. And as long as a face covering is school appropriate, it will be allowed at school. Okay. Face coverings include masks, gaiters, as well as we're going to talk about face shields as well. It is the recommendation from the CDC that a face shield be used in addition to a mask. So that's why we have asked all of our students to come with a mask or with a face covering, which would be a gaiter or a mask. Students can wear a face shield in addition to a mask if that is a parent preference. Of course, we will try our best to have mask breaks. We realize there's a social emotional aspect to this, and it's a kind of a no-win situation. But we realize that while students are on the playground, outdoors, and remaining socially distant, that they will be able to have mask breaks. We are also going to suggest or be okay with students having lanyards. That way they can attach their mask to their lanyard, and if they take it off, it can be attached to their lanyard and not be lost. We'll talk about labeling everything in a moment. Let's see. I believe that is all right now according to face coverings. Missing anything? All right.
Another change that we're making is how we're going to use the cafeteria space. Originally, we had said that we were going to try to have lunch in the cafeteria, and our thinking was that it was really just going to give the kids a little bit of a change of scenery. You know, we knew that it was going to be hard to be in the same homeroom most of the morning and then come back to it in the afternoon. So we were thinking in terms of that. We had reduced the number of children who were going to be in the cafeteria. That was part of our plan. And another factor was we really didn't want the teachers to have to sit in the classroom during lunchtime and eat their lunch with their students. They need a break too. And so that was our original thinking. But going forward, we kind of did some brainstorming and we decided that there is a way to supervise the children that wouldn't have to involve the teachers. We can use the regular cafeteria monitors. It's going to work out nicely that the kids can remain in their homerooms for lunchtime. There will be supervision. Those adults will send the kids out to the playground when it's time to do that. So we've made that decision to eat in the classrooms, which has an advantage in the fact that now we do have, Gesu is so tight on space. So what we've done now is opened up a reasonably large space. And one of the reasons we want to do that is to try to ease things a bit in our kindergarten. This, unfortunately, is a year when we have a bumper crop of kindergartners. And so we know that, you know, those classrooms are going to be full of darling little children. And the teachers right now are working very hard to kind of clean out their classrooms and open them up, make them as spacious as possible. But we also know, and they've done this in the past, that the cafeteria is a good place for them to kind of divvy up their groups, bring part of them to the cafeteria for instruction and activities, and then take them back to the homeroom. So that will really happen the way it's been happening in the past, but it will be more often now because we won't have quite as much in the cafeteria as we've had in the past. We can't do that on a permanent basis, though. Some people suggested that we should just make 3 more classrooms in the cafeteria. And the problem there is that we don't have 3 more teachers who could be the teachers of record of those smaller groups of children. So we know our aides are fabulous. You know, we trust them implicitly, but they really are not in a position to take full responsibility for a class. But we feel like we really are going to have the benefit of that big space, which we like. Another thing that we just wanted to clarify a little bit was that at this point in time, we know we can't have assemblies and field days and things like that that we mentioned in the plan. That part of the plan was really written when things were looking a little bit more hopeful, and we, were optimists and we thought we could do that. But we know right now that we've got to put that on hold. So we don't want anyone to worry about that. What we will try to do is do things on the morning broadcast, spirit kinds of activities that the whole school can get involved in and really build our school community and our school spirit. Because that's a huge, huge piece, and it's very important to us, that whole social, emotional reason that you're coming to school. I know the kids are excited to come back to school, and we don't want them to be disappointed that it's a little bit more restrictive than it's been in past years. We want them to come back and have fun, and we just can't wait to see them.
From the social emotional aspect, many of you commented on foreseeing it as a rigid day where the kids would be seated at their desks all day or not able to move. And we don't feel that that's a valuable experience for our kids. Know that our teachers are going to be aware of that as well. And we will plan. Instruction will look a bit different this year. Our school will look differently this year. Know that we're planning these activities to provide breaks for our kids, to focus on closing the gaps from where we left off to where we're starting instruction. And that socially and emotionally, our kids are important to us and will provide the support. You've also mentioned in your comments about the staff and how concerned you are for the staff and the well-being of our teachers. And we're very grateful for that. We've added to staff from auxiliary services. We've added the services of a guidance counselor through federal funding. We're anticipating adding someone to come in and help with the social emotional transition for our kids. Some people that they know and have contact with, so that it's a common face, a face that they know and someone that they recognize and that they feel comfortable. Know that that piece of their social and emotional well-being is important to us as well, and we will be doing things to help to support them. Mrs. Tatro is a wonderful school nurse, and we are very blessed to have her full time. We also recognize she does need some support in this area. So PSI is the company that we contract with for health aid services. And through our auxiliary service money, we have contracted with someone to come in additionally to help support Mrs. Tatro in her work in handling the day-to-day issues that occur with someone who may need to take their medication and the potential for an outbreak of some sort with a more serious health concern. You may have noticed in the document we have a secondary clinic that has been formed. It's right next to Mrs. Buck's office and in the front area. So parent and parental access will be changed a bit so that anyone who has or displays symptoms will be isolated in the area, away from the traditional clinic, away from the kids in the school, and ready to be picked up for transport home in the event that anyone is sick. So,
So as Lucy stated at the beginning, we are getting swivels for almost all of our classrooms. They were purchased with the ESSER Care Funds and by Cleveland Heights University Heights. These devices are relatively inexpensive compared to other conferencing softwares and setups. Plus, they have the benefit of being portable or mobile. So they can be taken to other areas of the building that don't have a swivel and be used. Or if we transition to full distance learning, they can be taken home and used by teachers at home, unlike big full conference setups with TVs and built-in cameras. So we have a school of over 640 students. So providing one-to-one devices to that many students is sometimes a challenge. We currently had about 450 devices already throughout the school that can be purposed and assigned to students. And then we had extra devices that we were able to use for distance learning as well. So we purchased enough to get us to one-to-one from kindergarten through 8th grade. However, there's been a shortage of Chromebooks and devices due to the shortage of Intel processors. This was happening prior to COVID, and now they're even more delayed. But our hope is that they will come in early September so that we can have all of our devices. There's also been concerns expressed about privacy in the classroom. The way we're going to address privacy in the classroom is most often these are not going to be recorded sessions that the teachers are broadcasting. The teachers have the ability to pause or record on their Zoom account, and they can choose what to record or not. The swivel can aim towards whoever is recording. So right now it's pointing towards me, and you can't see what is going on anywhere else in the room. So Lucy's sorting papers right now. But that information is only shared because I now shared it. Sorry about that. Just throwing you straight under the bus there. But they're all wearing their masks. They are all wearing their masks. We're all socially distant wearing our masks. We are very concerned also about the privacy. Everything is in our technology policy that is on our website, and you'll be receiving a link to a copy of that in the August packet that will be coming out. Students are not able to record the Zoom sessions, so it will only be the teachers, and then the teachers have to decide to post it. So like this meeting is being recorded, but we'll edit out those first few minutes before the meeting actually started, and we'll only post the actual meeting time. And that's all I've got technology-wise. Anyway.
Yep. So next we wanted to address orientation and staggered start dates. So orientation obviously has normally been a one-day event for a couple of hours for students to come in, see their homeroom, see their teachers, drop off the materials. We obviously realized that we wanted to do that a little different this year, especially when a parent comes with a student. So orientation is going to be divided into 2 days, August 27th and August 28th. We do not have the exact times to get to it yet, but we will have a variety of times available on August 27th and August 28th, staggered times for students to come in, drop off, or students and families to come in, drop off paperwork, proceed to their homeroom, meet their homeroom teacher, and then proceed to the Bulldog Gym to pick up school supplies if in fact they ordered in that means. Students or families who have chosen to be remote learners, we are going to offer a beginning time for them to come in for orientation. So on the 27th, the first hour would be deemed for remote learners. We feel that that would be the safest. Obviously, if you're choosing remote learning, you're probably doing so because you're not comfortable being in such a large group setting. This would significantly just decrease the numbers, and that way, students who are remote learners, if families do choose to come to orientation, can still meet the homeroom teacher, can still pick up their device and proceed that way.
Textbooks too.
And textbooks as well. Course textbooks. Any family that chooses to be a remote learner that is still uncomfortable about orientation, just contact us and we'll definitely figure out how we can get those materials to you. Staggered start dates. We also feel that bringing the students in, staggering our student entry for that first week of school is going to give us an opportunity for the students to, one, not feel so overwhelmed They haven't been in school for quite some time, and things are going to look a little different. So we do want to bring them in. We want to make them familiar with some of the signage that we have in the building. We want to make them familiar with how to wear masks, when they are wearing masks. So August 31st and September 1st will be the opening start dates for our second floor, and that's 5th through 8th grade. On September 2nd and September 3rd will be when our first floor students arrive, so that's 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade. We are hoping that during that time, during that September 2nd and 3rd, all students on the second floor, teachers will be able to teach remotely at that time, so we can get that familiarization of how that is working. And then all school, or all students who are on campus, would be in school then September 4th. So we have a week worth of staggered opening again to hope ease the transition back into school, hope to learn all the new procedures and protocols we have in place.
Thanks. So one of the things that's going to be different about orientation this year is the fact that we will be sending a letter out with your class assignment and your home teacher's assignment. In there will also be a packet of forms that we will ask you to complete and return to us on orientation day. And we are asking that all forms, emergency medical, communication forms be updated and returned to us prior to the start of school this year. So that's another one of the changes for us. The remote aspect is going to be present in all of our lives because there's acceptable use policies that need to be signed and forms from the diocese that we need to be aware of. You'll be getting quite an extensive packet to be signed, and included in that will be the remote learning guidelines, which will be finalizing now. And basically, everyone will get them because we will be then prepared automatically to shift if we need to from direct face-to-face to remote learning. But those of you who choose to begin the school year with remote learning will also have an awareness of what you need to do as a parent, what kids need to do to participate in remote learning. And the guidelines for that would be that day-to-day, you check in, you sign in with us. The school day starts for us at 8 o'clock and ends at 2:40. There will be downtimes where you will not be on or active to things. But teachers are being trained again in a way to handle that transition. Talking in a classroom or teaching in a classroom, stopping and reporting if necessary. There are going to be some perks to all the technology and additional technology, so it's not just a one-year deal. It's something that we see that we can transition and use as time goes on to help support kids who are out sick or on a family vacation. We can help to support the assignments that they receive and the learning that goes on, even a snow day. So the remote learning piece is there. Let's see. Primarily, the big questions that came out were the fact that you wanted to see more time with the teachers and more access to the teachers, and that will be there. You will also have access to the guidance counselors and all the services that go on that are provided at Gesu. If you have special interest as far as accommodation plans or IEPs, those will still be carried out to our inclusion coordinators and our intervention specialists, much as they did in the spring of last year. We will move forward in that manner, knowing that our kids need to check in with us, complete assignments as they are due, and download them with our technology, and our kids will have that ability to take their one-to-one devices home with them this year. So those are the big changes that have occurred, and that is thanks to our ability to use our ESSER funds from the CARES Act. We didn't include it in the document at that time because our approval actually was given to us on the day that we released the CARES Act. The CARES Act money was given to us the minute we released our document. So we're very grateful to our district for doing that. and helping us with all the needs that purchasing PPE and all the expenses that we have. A couple of the questions came up about COVID and how we would handle a situation within COVID. And turn it over to you if you have any special questions that you would like. We'll open up the room. But know that in the instance of a COVID identification, we will work with the County Board of Health in that. They will be, if someone is tested and identifies positive with a COVID test, that enters into the Board of Health. The Board of Health will contact the individuals and also the school in this, and that we will follow the contact tracing that is required for us by the Board of Health. So at this point, if there are any further questions, we're here to answer the questions and address any of your concerns that you might have.
Okay, so I see one of the first questions. Will there be a swivel device in every classroom or just certain ones? And we have enough swivel devices so that each classroom, each homeroom will have a swivel device. Can you tell us the start date for kindergarten?
The kindergarten start dates will be per the letter that you get home. Our kindergarten screening will be held and will, on a much smaller level, we'll start with their kindergarten screening. Then they will do a staggered entrance. So probably within the letter that you will receive from kindergarten, you'll be looking at the week after grades 1 through 8 begins. And then we'll stagger our kindergartners in, and then they'll start probably after Labor Day class. But kindergarten parents will be receiving a letter specific to that, as will our preschool parents.
Next question is, if the student has to attend virtually, are they allowed to use their own devices instead of the school-issued swivel?
No, because you would be on our firewall and subject to our acceptable use policies. So you'll still be given the school designated technology. Right.
There's a question regarding the swivel microphone. Usually they're on a lanyard that the teacher will wear, so they'll sound about this clear with a mask on. Without a mask, they'll sound about this clear when the teacher's wearing them. Right now, we only had 3, and there were 4 people using it. So it still requires a normal amount of projection to use the microphone, and they're just not close enough at this time. But they should be worn by the teacher in order to be able to be a clear sound. There's also mute buttons and on-off buttons directly on the microphone. So if the teacher is talking and then they want to not talk to the people there and they have to discipline a student sort of privately off to the side, they can turn it off right from the little marker.
Okay. Next question is, thank you for holding the town hall. You're welcome. Let's say we make the decision to send our kids back by 7:31. But cases continue to climb through the county in August. Can we change our mind to send them remote? Can you answer that?
Yes, you can. We know that this is a difficult decision for you all. We know that there's different comfort levels for all of you. And with the change, the most important change being that we will have the swivels there. We'd like our kids to be able to meet and greet their teachers and know the teachers that they will be working with. But if numbers and cases continue to rise or your comfort level decreases, we're a phone call away. You call us, you sign the remote learning contract, and you go remote for the amount of time. Also, what we're trying to avoid is that in and out kind of thing. Nobody comes on one day on Monday and Tuesday. We want a set period of time for attendance for our kids. But if within a quarter things are changing, you are comfortable and willing to bring your kids back into the face-to-face environment, you're already assigned to a class. Your child would just go back into the class that he or she is assigned, and you can continue. We're a phone call away. You just call us, and we'll make it work with you.
Next, can you explain the plans for 245 Club? How will the rules be same or different? So 245 Club will continue, our aftercare program will continue, and they will be following the same rules and protocols that we are at school. So masks as well as social distancing. They're also going to be smaller grouped through, I'm sorry.
Temperature checks.
Oh, as well as temperature checks, I'm sorry. So reporting to 245 Club, they will also receive a temperature check at the start. So they will also continue the same protocols that we are. So 245 Club will follow the same cleaning protocols, as well as social distancing, as well as masks, as well as smaller groups of cohorts that the students will be in. For those that will be attending Gesu in person, will parents be allowed to walk their children into the building or just to the door?
Right now, our intent is in the next town hall meeting is to give you some visuals as far as our school is concerned. Right now, we couldn't do that because in addition to all of the COVID planning, we are replacing flooring in some of our kindergarten classrooms, replacing the chalkboards with whiteboards, replacing technology in several of the classrooms. So they are under construction. You will have the opportunity to see a visual of where your kids are. On the first day of school, you can walk them up to the door. We'll give you the opportunity, if you're talking about little ones, we'll give you the opportunity to say goodbye at the door. But any visitors to our school will have to go through a health assessment and a temperature screening. All adults will be required to wear masks as they enter the building. And we are reducing, per the guidelines and suggestions that were made by the health officials who reviewed our plan, limit the number of visitors within the school. But we recognize it's a big thing. If you're bringing your child in, or if there's anxiety or social emotional issues that kids are facing when returning to school after such a long period of time, there are times that we can build in with videos to welcome the kids back, or giving you an opportunity to open the building and walk through the building just to see where they're at, so that you're not just leaving the kids with us. But will there be a permission for a day-to-day drop-off at the door for the kids? No, but that could be up to the front door of the school or the door entryway.
Can 8th graders take their Chromebooks from Gesu home? Yes, they will be able to do so. They may choose to leave them in school, but they also may choose to take them home. If they choose to take them home, obviously they're going to be responsible for having them charged when they bring them back. So that's going to be important. Can you give a little more detail regarding turning in assignments for those selecting remote learning? Absolutely. So we feel that students who are remote learners are students that have the same responsibilities of students as students on campus. So a student who is turning in any assignment, who's a remote learner, would have the same due date as any assignment that would be on campus.
Okay.
Oh, yes. So a good portion of, sorry, now I just lost my spot. A good portion of our classes already have Google Classroom in place. And that will be the method that will be used to turn in assignments. For the remote learning option, is the orientation on the 27th when the kids will pick up all their workbooks, tablets, etc.? Yes, our thought process at this moment is that orientation on the 27th, the first hour or hour and a half of that orientation would be the time when remote learners can come to the school building without feeling overwhelmed by other people being in the building, but come and pick up their workbooks, their textbooks, etc. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you. It's been wonderful. Okay, it has been, okay. I think this is the question that Michael answered. Okay, might there be microphones for the teachers? So as Michael kind of answered, we are 4 individuals in the room kind of splitting with 3 microphones, but a teacher would have one directly on them, which would increase their ability to hear them. Okay, next question. Will the school only notify of a COVID case after the school has been contacted by the state county Department of Health. I understand there can be a lag for this contact tracing to occur.
That's a difficult question to answer, and that's one that all of the principals have been facing. As we know, when we become aware of an identified case of COVID, much as we would for any other communicable disease, we'll send a notice home to you saying that there's been an identified case of COVID within a particular group. So we will let you know what it would be. The school will not require the COVID test because there could be so many things in an elementary school that are resulting in the symptoms that are there. But we recommend strongly that you consult your pediatrician for a lot of these things. Many places won't even do COVID testing on the little ones. So talk to your pediatrician, let us know. We will communicate on a regular basis. We're working with PSI. Mary's familiar, Mrs. Castro is familiar with sending out communicable disease notices. And once it gets into the hands of the Board of Health, we help with the contact tracing. We do understand that it has become difficult with people 48 hours prior to identifying as COVID positive have the potential of being able to spread. Know that that's part of our difficulty too. We're dealing with a virus that's still a lot left to be known and trying to make it as safe, as responsible as we possibly can. So working with your pediatricians and the Board of Health and health officials, we will do everything that we can to increase the communication with you and let you know as best we can.
Okay. The next question is, will the swivel device be this muffled live stream to our houses? So again, currently there are 4 adults in this room that are trying to use 3 microphones. In the classroom, the one microphone, it would only be one microphone, so you wouldn't be getting any pickup from the other ones. But the microphone would be here. So hopefully if you heard us during our video that we sent out, that would be similar to the sound that you would be hearing because our audio would be directly attached to us. So hopefully that would take precedence. Also, right now we're not using our teacher voices, and I can tell you my teacher voice probably carries a lot farther. The next question, do the masks have to be solid colored, and will the school provide lanyards? So we have made the change. You know, we have talked about masks, the idea of a solid colored mask versus a different kind of colored mask versus a Gesu mask. Our thought process in all of this is we want our students to be safe. We want our students to wear masks that they feel comfortable with. We want you to be comfortable with the masks that you are sending your child to school with. So the only thing that we are asking is that it be school appropriate. I'm sure many of you have been out, as I have been out, and have seen masks that may be a smidge frightening to others, or just what we would call school inappropriate. I kind of try to think of it as if we're having a dress down day, you know, if you wouldn't wear it on a t-shirt to school, then please don't put it on your mask. So that's what we are asking in regards to masks. Lanyards. At this time, we can purchase lanyards. I know lanyards are not that expensive, and we can have them available. We're not going to provide a lanyard for each and every student, but you know, we can have those, you know, available if one is forgotten, so to speak.
So part of what we're saying as far as the masks are concerned is realization that they need to be laundered. You need to have a lot of them, and we need to make it as easy as possible for you and for your kids to be wearing the masks, because that is required. Know that the social emotional piece is important as well, and some have expressed a concern with why are our little ones having to wear a mask as well. That in part is due to the fact that the requirements from the CDC have changed and have dropped the age lower from our awareness of it. And know too that you have the option for the face shield, especially for instructional purposes. When we're thinking of our kindergarten, first and second graders, we know what is involved with reading instruction.
Our little ones need to see their teachers' faces. They need to be able to interact, and our teachers need to see the kids' faces too. So as they're involved in reading instruction, how they're saying and pronouncing a word, or forming their mouth in saying a letter sound, etc. That's all very important as well. So there will be times when they're going to have masks down, and mask breaks will be present a lot throughout the day, because it is an important change for them. But know too that you can help us with that piece by doing everything that you can to get them used to this on the front end, and accepting of that. We've looked at the guidance from the Healthy Start Restart Playbook that's University Hospitals has put out. They've given us some ideas and suggestions on how we can create videos to help acclimate kids to the importance of wearing their masks and being in accordance with the policies of the school when we're socially distant.
That's breaks when we are socially distant. Okay, next question. You say you are tight on space. Can you move students to the gymnasium for additional space? When we say we're tight on space, I think what our interpretation on that is that we are landlocked. There are many schools that might have sprawling campuses, or might have more grass areas to use, outdoor areas to use. So that's kind of what we think about when we are tight on space. We do have open rooms that will be available that we can transition smaller groups to. Have we thought about using the gymnasium for additional space? Yes, absolutely. So the Bulldog Gym is going to be used for instruction, not for PE class. Our Family Center is actually in size. It is 2 gymnasiums. There are 2 gyms. So that will be the gym that we use for PE, which, if we are indoors for PE, would provide us the opportunity to be more socially distant in PE and provide some further space there. So yes, we have looked at our gymnasium. Our Bulldog Gym will be used for instructional space.
On the second floor, we also have the Learning Commons, the Science Lab, and the enriched reading language arts rooms that our kids can use to pull out and to have additional instructional spaces. So assigned to a homeroom, actually our social distancing, our physical distancing is not 6 feet on that, to be totally transparent with you. But we have a good 3 to 4 feet in the 2 tightest grade levels, which are kindergartners and our 8th graders. Now with kindergartners, we think we can solve part of that problem by replacing the tables with individual desks. And that will increase the physical distancing in our kindergartners space. We're also looking at taking over the music room downstairs with one of our classrooms moving into the music room. We'll be able to have space for our kids to spread out with their teacher aides, and also provide appropriate physical distancing in additional classrooms there.
Our next question, what if you are unable to attend either date for orientation on the 27th or 28th? Just please contact us. Our teachers will be happy to accommodate. We will be happy to accommodate you. Next question, thank you for all you're doing for our safety and well-being. Since things are so drastically different, learning masks, etc., will there be a possibility of changing uniform to make it more comfortable?
Yes. The PTO has been wonderful. And at this point, I'd like to say thank you to Jen Wick and Jessica Price-Smith about all the work that they have done for us. They've attended task force meetings and have had their own town hall about the communication with you as parents. And one of the things also that they're going to be looking at is additions to the gym uniform and the addition of a polo shirt for our kids so that they'd be more comfortable. They've got enough to worry about as far as masks and things, but perhaps looking at it, if they can wear a polo of some sort instead of a shirt and tie, we're looking at that aspect of relaxing it. know that too, on days that the kids are scheduled for gym classes, they can wear their gym uniform. And they're doing some additions to the gym uniforms too, so.
Next question, when will the staggered start details be finalized by grade level? I think we're pretty set on them. They just have not been out in writing yet. And I believe when we send our letters home from the grade level teachers, that will be written in that letter for you. Next, will you be testing Swivel classes with students before school starts? So prior to school starting, our teachers are going to continue to receive professional development on the use of swivels. And I think part of that is going to be making sure that they know how to use the swivel and test the swivel. If we feel that, or if a family feels, hey, could we have a short session, a 5-minute session with the teacher? I think we could, ask our teachers to make that accommodation to make sure that that swivel and that setup is working. So I could understand maybe being a little hesitant of a student who's a remote learner and waiting till the first day of school to make sure that their computer, their Zoom, that they can hear everything. So yeah, I think that you can make that a possibility to work. Okay, Michael, I think the next one is for you. Does the technology issued by the school block other websites and programs?
The technology issued by the school blocks websites and programs only on campus. So we don't filter anything for devices when they're at home. That's on the parent's responsibility.
Next, if there is a large number of students learning remotely, is it possible to have one teacher dedicated to that group of students?
I think the concern was from comments that we received that parents would prefer not to have one isolated teacher who would be handling remote learning. Our teachers have done a lot of work in working in teams to make sure that instruction is consistent among the grade level. And on the second floor in departmental subjects, there would need to be a crossover as far as teachers are concerned. So the comments that we received was more a concern of, we want to make sure that our kids are still connected to the class that they are in, have been assigned to, and that they still receive the instruction that they will have from the teacher that they were assigned to, should there be any need for us to isolate or to go into total remote learning.
Another piece of it would be you'd kind of lose that socialization of reacting with the kids who are in the classroom and building a sense of community back and forth. That would be a little bit more difficult too. You lose out on that.
Next question, will there be study tables this year? Great question. At the start of the school year, we will not have study tables. All of our clubs or after school activities, except for 245 Club, we're just going to put on hold for the time being until we deem that it is safe. And then, of course, we will communicate that to you as the school year moves forward. If we're feeling, yes, we can now bring back study tables, then we would communicate that with you before we do so.
Just as an addition, as one of the outcomes of this, our dismissal will change a little bit. It will take a little bit longer for us to accomplish our dismissal. We're waiting for communication from Cleveland Heights, University Heights, and Shaker, which are our two largest districts as far as the timing of bus routes. And we will hold our kids so that we can stagger the dismissal and make sure that the kids are appropriately dismissing. So at that point, once the school day's over and we are waiting, kids can always start work and kind of use it as an intervention period with their teachers, because their teachers will be helping in supervising the kids as they await for dismissal.
The next two questions kind of coincide. So what will cause Gesu to move to 100% remote? A governor mandate, a county mandate, school district decision, Gesu school decision. What protocols will be used to determine a full school transition to remote learning? So obviously, a governor's mandate, of course, just like we did in the spring, when that mandate came down for us, we closed. We were also having the conversation, I know that Cleveland Heights University Heights just has decided this as well, that now the state is in a color-coded by county model. If Cuyahoga County moves into the purple, being the highest state, that would give reason for us to close as well. A Gesu decision, a Gesu school decision, we would follow any guidelines from the Cuyahoga County Board of Health. So if there happens to be a case within Gesu or, et cetera, we'd follow the guidelines from the Board of Health for a specific school shutdown decision.
Know that we will monitor our absentee numbers regularly. And of course, if Cleveland Heights is in a situation, we talk to our districts, we talk to our area schools, we'll be looking at that. If our numbers are specific to Gesu, we will be in contact with the Board of Health and make a decision that's most prudent for our kids and the safety of our families.
What will you do for air circulation in rooms that do not have windows, such as Mrs. Keneally's room? So Mrs. Keneally's room has moved, but that is now Mrs. Olson's room. So I'm imagining someone thinking of room 201. And no, it does not have windows that open, but the door will remain open. Actually, that room 201 is probably one of the largest rooms in our second floor. So our students will be more socially distant than others. That room does have, the traditional air conditioning system that the school does. Make sense?
I think so.
Okay, I hope I answered.
We just got a suggestion too about air purifications devices that are floor mounted. So we are going to look into some of the things, not saying that we would get that, of course, for everyone, but in some situations where it's a little tighter, we can look at that. There are some people have sent in recommendations about different products that we can also look at for it.
Okay, I would like to know a little more about why there's no virtual option for preschool. I'll be keeping my kindergartner and second grader home for virtual learning for at least the first quarter because we are about to welcome a new baby. Congratulations. This is a very upsetting choice for us, but we feel it is the safest and even more upsetting that our 3-year-old will be left out of preschool. This doesn't seem very consistent to the concern for the social, emotional, and educational well-being that's being talked about. So at this time, as we speak at 1:53 on today, we do not have a virtual option for preschool, but that is something that is still in discussion.
Yeah, and I guess the critical word is yet, because for us, K through 8 is the first of the areas that we have to get up and running. What Debbie is working on is a component for the preschool piece of it to see who would be interested in a virtual session with them. It's not saying that the door's closed to this. It's just we have to get K through 8 up and running. So it's possible to evolve in this direction. And Mrs. Lautenbach is working on changing rooms and following the guidelines and different ratios that we have for that. But we recognize, especially if the kids are coming back, that they want to still have that connection with their teachers. Don't be surprised if that's one of the things that does get added into it. But it's all a matter of timing. And as we go through, through the course of unfolding this plan and making the necessary changes, it very well may be something that we add into for our preschool kids.
Do we have the ability to purchase a portable HEPA filter for each classroom? I think that is something we can look into. I'm not. That is definitely something that we can look into. Next question. Being that the country has changed dramatically since the survey went out, would another survey be helpful? I'm curious as to how many families would prefer hybrid learning for the safety of the students and staff. This may allow for the 6 feet of distance. I think in terms of another survey, I feel what is challenging with surveys is kind of the turnaround time, that receiving that information and then adjusting a plan. You know, we are constantly trying to adjust this plan and reading and reading and reading and trying to make it the best for everyone. And at some point, you know, we have decided that these two options give our parents options, so that it gives the ability for families who feel comfortable and some who need their students to be in school for, you know, kind of, I don't want to say daycare reasons, but that no one else would have necessarily the ability to watch them. You know, some of our families want to see that and want their children to be in school, while we still offer the ability for our students to learn remotely. And our remote learning, I feel, is going to be, I know, I shouldn't say feel, I know it is going to be different than what parents and what students experienced in the spring. So a parent who may feel hesitant about sending your child back to school should not feel as hesitant about the remote learning aspect in terms of loss of academics. A remote learner is going to be involved in the same discussions, in the same activities, using the same books, you know, the same assignments as every other student. So I believe that would allow us our best opportunity for someone who does not feel safe enough to return to school. In addition, ladies?
Okay, thanks.
Will you be taking children's temperatures when they enter each day?
We will at the classroom doors. The conversations that we've had with different people say, you will take them first at your home, and making sure that anyone who comes to school is healthy, and that you've gone through a health assessment and there's no physical ailments. We talk to different people about when is the best time to do it. And what we don't want to have is a number of our kids standing outside in the cold or in the winter waiting for us to do a temperature check. So we've purchased the infrared touchless thermometers that will go at each of the doors. You're going to start to see hand sanitizing stations coming in. They'll follow the protocol for sanitizing their hands, coming into the classroom after their temperature has been checked. And that's just the second round of it. So we're not getting a false read based on somebody standing out in the cold or sitting on a hot bus, that kind of thing. Our teachers, when they come in, prior to them entering the classrooms, will take a temperature check, and the kids will sanitize their hands and get ready for the school day. I'd also like to remind everyone that minimize the amount of things that the kids need to bring to school. We've used our auxiliary service dollars to purchase the electronic versions of a lot of their textbooks, so they're not going to need to be dragging things back and forth or bringing things to and from. They can use their Chromebooks, minimize the things that are brought into the school building, and we feel that that's an appropriate step after you're doing the initial health assessment, knowing that no one 100 degrees or above comes to school, no one with any of the symptoms comes to school. And prior to their return to school, the biggest difference is 72 hours waiting fever-free with no fever-reducing medication.
Has there been any consideration for asking families if they have spent the past 4 months quarantining together and then keeping those kids together in the same homeroom as a way to reduce some of the potential spread? So families that are quarantining together, I guess that might be something that if you have been doing this, I guess that's new to me, but I have not been doing it myself. But if families have been doing this, if that's something that is of interest to you, please let us know. We cannot be constantly changing homerooms, you know, especially throughout the year, and that becomes challenging to a point where you know, we don't want to have a homeroom have more students than another homeroom, and we're trying to keep, you know, numbers the same. But if that is something that you have been doing, you know, feel free to share that with us. That would be good information for us to know.
Some of the change, one of the changes is our multiples are looking at, where in the past we've said, split up the kids and different experiences within the grade level. We do realize it will be easier for parents of twins to probably be in the same room. And if that's what you prefer, then we can make that happen for you. So you're not dealing with 3 different sets of teachers or 2 different sets of teachers in a school environment. Also, we have to be conscious of the fact that our kids want to come back and once they come back in, they want to be with their friends. So we're trying to broaden their perspective and still maintain a cohort group. It's a great idea, and if you have any particular wishes, we'll do our best as always, but we can't make any promises.
Will you be notifying the parents if and when there's a student that tests positive with COVID? What will the protocol for the student's classroom? Will they be required to quarantine? So homerooms will be notified if a student tests positive, just like we do with any other communicable disease. Notice that gets sent home. We will follow all the protocols that the Cuyahoga County Board of Health will be telling us. So they will be also in contact with us and giving us the further directives. Any information about busing, particularly from Shaker Heights? Do we know anything about Shaker Heights? No.
No, but Shaker did, they did come out with concerns about their transportation. Cleveland Heights did send us a letter about the number that they will allow on there, that the kids are asked to make sure that they are wearing their masks and sanitizing their hands prior to entering the buses. Their statement is that at times they may be required to have at least 2 to a seat, possibly 3 to a seat. We haven't heard anything yet from Shaker on that piece, but one of the biggest obstacles to overcome in this is transportation. So, the districts have a big job to get our kids here safely. Let us know too if there's anything that you experience as far as transportation, or I think what they want is a response from you as far as your ability to utilize transportation. We also know that our car line is going to be dramatic. So know that we are working on the car line piece, drop-off piece in the morning to make sure that we're getting things in our kids through as quickly as possible. And we'll give our kids leeway on things. We know that, and have done in the past, if there's a backup in our transportation on a day, that our kids have leeway to go back into the classroom, things like that. And we'll have a gentle start in the morning until we can get all things kind of worked out. As soon as we find out anything from Shaker or Cleveland Heights, we'll let you know.
If the school were to be moved to remote learning by state order, will the virtual status continue by the school for the remainder of the quarter? Will kids who were already remote be allowed to return before the end of the quarter? So I think some of that is yet to be seen. So if we were to move to remote virtual learning by a state order, will the virtual status continue by the school for the remainder of the quarter? I think that's kind of meant yet to be seen. What I am thinking, and please interject, ladies, is that if this were to happen maybe the second week of school, and it was a state order, would we remain for the remainder of the quarter? I think that's to be seen. That's, a 9-week period of time. However, if it were to happen towards the end of the quarter, we might say, let's remain virtual for the next 2 weeks to end the quarter. So I think that's, still a work in progress. We absolutely understand that you want to know, what the status is, that you have jobs, that you, need childcare. And so, we aren't by any means trying to make anything more challenging for you. We're just trying to figure out what are best options. These are all brand new avenues for us, but we will take all of those in consideration. Kids who were already remote, will they be allowed to return before the end of the quarter? So if we, as a school, if we have a school shut down for some reason, and then we reopen and the student was remote and wants to return, yes. I think our whole philosophy, and I know Lucy had mentioned this before, about giving us a quarter's worth of remote or on campus, is that we do not want to put children or our teachers in a situation where some students have to classes remote this day, but then 3 of them returned on Tuesday, but 1 of them wanted to sleep in on Wednesday. And we just want to make it as cohesive as we possibly can. So obviously there are instances that we probably have not even thought about yet that might occur for us down in the future, and we're just going to have to deal with them as they come. For those of us with younger children and who are also working from home, the idea of trying to monitor a 7-hour school simulcast while also working is simply not plausible. With 2 working adults and 2 children in a limited space, there isn't any way for our work schedules to always accommodate a rigid online attendance schedule. Is there a flexibility possible in the online attendance option, similar to some of the options provided by the public district and online charters?
Yes, I think that's something that we can always consider. Know that it's going to look different from our, just as we talked about as a faculty in the spring, the amount of required time for our first graders and second graders to be on task and present in the classroom may very well be different than what our 7th and 8th graders are expected to accomplish. So know that our faculty will be cognizant of the needs of the kids, and they will teach to the level and the grade that are there.
Are safety drills suspended, or are procedures augmented for COVID-19? So safety drills like fire, tornado drills, and blackouts.
Right. They will look a little different. So we will, rather than doing an all-school fire drill all at once, and try to social distance kids, the recommendation from the diocese and from other schools has been, we'll run it individually by either grade or homeroom, knowing that if in the case of an emergency, our kids will know where to go and know how to proceed and what the expectation is. And that if we do have a true emergency, a fire in the building, or something where we need to automatically evacuate, they will still know the process. And at that point, the social distancing piece and a true emergency would be secondary to the emergency itself. So we will be sharing that with our teachers, that they will practice their lockdown, their tornado drills, their evacuation drills on a case-by-case basis within their homeroom, so that the kids will always know which way to go and how to enter the building and what the expectation of it is.
What happens to programs like NJHS? Will this still occur? So NJHS in particular, I can speak to NJHS. It will continue, but it will be different. One of the components of NJHS is a group service project. Obviously, that won't be completed. Another component of NJHS is certain stipulations on service, and which I think will change a little bit. So I think NJHS is a program, knowing that I oversee it, is a program that can continue, but that there are going to be some changes to it just to maintain safety. Student council as well. Yes, other programs like student council, again, will be something that we will look at, that we want to continue, but just will be a bit different. Michael, this is one for you, but I think I know the answer. If we have a Chromebook, would it be helpful if our kids bring them to free up a Chromebook?
No, we are still not a BYOD or bring your own device school. We have to put certain things like GoGuardian and Bark onto our devices for the students to use them both at school and at home. Therefore, it is best if they use a school-issued device. I'm pretty confident that we will have enough school-issued devices.
Are the desks 6 feet apart? If yes, will the children, particularly the small ones, who the CDC says may be unable to wear a cloth face covering properly, particularly for extended period of time, be allowed to take their masks off when at their desks?
In all cases, the desks are not necessarily 6 feet apart. We did the best that we can. You saw our hallways.
and saw what our maintenance guys are going through. They're taking everything extra out of the classroom. So it goes back to an old school way of desks facing front and all in rows to accommodate as much as we can about social distancing. So as we know who's going remote and who's going to be face to face, we'll remove those desks so that we can provide as much a maximum of social physical distancing as we can. In the event that someone cannot wear a mask, we just need a medical statement from the doctor saying that there's an excusal on this. And if a face shield is permitted, then the face shield is what replaces them. In cases where we can't physical distance, the kids will wear their masks. But in the younger grades, we're going to give them plenty of breaks to take their masks down, to have fresh air breaks. In one of the packets, you might see a field trip form. Doesn't mean that we're going on field trips because we're not having them this first semester. But if we need to take our kids on a walk for a short period of time up and down Muir Road, we'll take them for a walk. But we need permission. No, not permission. So we will do as best that we can because we know that it's difficult. We also know that we have some barriers that are physical barriers that are coming in. Our biggest concern is, we think we can manage it with our little ones, our kindergartners. Our desks are pretty big within our 8th grade classes. So we're getting the physical barriers, the shields, thank you, that's the word, to put up on desks in the event that someone really needs the space to do it. They'll have a shield, they can put their shield up and take a breath, So that's why, we did get a couple of questions as far as how will you discipline the kids if they don't wear their masks? Most of the time we have no problem with just explaining to our kids, this is our way, this is our reality. And as parents, you've done a great job in letting them know what needs to be done, and they've already established patterns with this. We hope that we don't have to go to that extreme of it being a disciplinary consequence of a demerit, or our conversations would be with you, our conversations would be with the kids. We'll do what we can to help train them and mold them into an understanding of why we need to do what we need to do in this very different year. So we'll be understanding of the fact that these kids are going through a turnover too, and so we'll work with the kids and you as well as families, because it's difficult for all, our teachers as well.
I believe we kind of just addressed this, but I just wanted to make sure that doesn't think that I'm jumping over it. But will you consider allowing kindergartners to wear a face shield instead of a mask?
Yeah.
It's not only difficult to get children this little to wear a mask, but for long periods of time. So yes, I think that was just discussed. For students with IEPs who are receive services from PSI and Gesu, how will those services be delivered in the remote learning environment? How will that be accommodated in the online learning schedule and by the teachers for the students who aren't physically in the building? So all services will continue. That's going to be a wonderful discussion that you, the student, and your intervention specialist or the teacher that your child works with will have. I think that's the type of, sorry, just gonna pop up. That's the type of communication that really needs to happen at the beginning of the school year. Because we are intervention specialists, any of our support staff I know strongly is strongly there for the students. They do not want any remote learning, whether it be a mandated remote learning or a choice of remote learning, to negate any services, obviously. So my suggestion, I can't give you a schedule of how that will work, but I can tell you that I really feel on the forefront that those discussions need to be had with the child, the parent, and whoever is providing the service to make that as comfortable and as fluid and as natural as possible. Okay, I think I just went up a little far. No, I'm good. If your child does get a fever or sore throat, What will be the procedure for allowing them back? Will a COVID test be required in all cases?
No, we will not require a COVID test. We would ask that we would defer to your pediatrician. If your child contracts a fever, 72 hours fever-free with no fever-reducing medication. It could very well be an earache or something else that is causing it. It would not be COVID related. So if your pediatrician, and you talk to your pediatrician about the symptoms that are occurring, if they say that that's, there's known exposure to COVID and they require a test, that's different. But 72 hours fever-free and no medication that would lower. And that, I think, is one of the critical parts in all the things that we've read, is that aspect of keep the kids home. If the kids are sick, you can always access the curriculum remotely, even if you choose face-to-face. On the day when the kids are sick, if they're up to it and they feel comfortable doing it, you can always access the curriculum remotely. So, it's not really a big gap then, a lot to catch up on things if they happen to be out because they've got an earache or there's an outbreak of strep throat. So it's just an extended amount of time, but once again, that's why we're comfortable with the remote learning option, helping our face-to-face learners as well.
Next question, for remote learning, do you have a typical day schedule? Will they need to wear their uniforms for remote learning? So yes, unlike our spring schedule, remote learners will have a typical day schedule. There will be certain stipulations that weren't necessarily put in place last spring, which include wearing a uniform, which include a designated learning space, so the dog is not on your lap while you're in class, or that someone at home is not eating goldfish crackers while the rest of the class is not. Just some stipulations that we'd like to put in place because we want our remote learners to still know that they're students, that they're learners, that they need to be in a mindset and in a set that they are learning. So we feel that there needs to be some further stipulations that are just put in place for that in order for that to happen, for that to occur. Now, obviously, a typical day for an 8th grader looks different than a typical day for a 1st grader. And so we're going to keep that in mind, and we want you to keep that in mind as well. That there are times when students have, a restroom break that they will not necessarily need to be online. Or if there is a recess time, they do not need to be online. If the teacher, say in an upper grade, just gave a lecture and now asks you to read the following article and answer these questions, they do not need to be online for that. So a typical day is going to be dependent on the age of the student. But I feel that, again, remote learners, they're still learners. They're still needing to be in that framework of education. This is my job. I'm a student. I need to learn. And so therefore, further stipulations would be put into place. Moving on. Oh. I think we've already answered this one, but as for masks, many of us already have solid slate patterns. Absolutely. We're good with masks. Again, we just ask that they be school appropriate. And if you have a question on that, a child can bring in a mask to us, on a day, obviously wearing a different mask, bring in a mask to us, show it to us, and, thumbs up or thumbs down. But we're flexible on mask color and pattern. We ourselves have some really cute ones as well. Will virtual learners be required to wear uniforms? Okay. Appropriate attire acceptable. I think we're going to go with uniforms as we discuss the kind of change in uniform pattern or change in uniform that we may put in place. But appropriate attire can be
A polo shirt.
right. A polo shirt would be fine. But appropriate attire might be misconstrued by some people as for others. So we can have further discussions if someone's concerned on that. Are we correct in our understanding that the children were required to wear their masks during indoor gym classes? If yes, our pediatrician has advised us that this is very unsafe. Can this policy please be reviewed with the pediatrician? One of the things I guess we also want to understand about indoor gym versus outdoor gym is that indoor gym classes, we're also trying to make sure that they're non-contact. So if they are in the family center, which I discussed is twice the size as our regular gym, and they are socially distant, no, they do not have to wear masks. They can be doing jumping jacks and running in place or other activities that they have without wearing their masks. But when they are outdoors, obviously that's a different story. But our focus usually for indoor gym class would be that they are socially distant enough, that they have non-contact sports enough that they are able to take their masks off. Will clear plastic dividers be installed on desk tables for increased protection?
Not in every classroom, no. On classroom areas where we feel that we met the guidelines for social physical distancing, then we would have that. We are purchasing additional clear partitions for those that are a little closer than we would want. So in our upper grades, our 8th grade. But in some of the classes, we have 20 kids. So within a classroom, they're a good distance, 5 to 6 feet apart from one another. So we wouldn't be providing partitions there.
Thank you for this meeting. You're welcome. Will there be additional psychological and emotional support both for in-person and virtual students given these significant adjustments? Many students are dealing with fears about the virus. Yes, and understandably. That is always at the forefront of our mind. So we have hired a new guidance counselor, and she is wonderful, and she will be working with our teachers as well as working with our school as a whole with social emotional assistance. We are looking at some other options of people who could provide that for us as well as knowing that all of our teachers have been trained in responsive classroom. It's just midday. Responsive classroom, which provides that opportunity to get to know students and provides that relationship, which I think is going to be critical for students coming back to school. Them feeling that they are safe to ask their teacher questions, safe to have those conversations, and safe to ask those questions in a classroom. So our teachers are going to be cognizant of that. As I said, they've been trained in that. And so incorporating all of that, our guidance counselor, additional programs, our teachers, we hope that we're able to provide all of the social and emotional support that our students need.
And we ask your help as well. Much as we have seen within our kids the excitement about coming back to school, we also recognize that apprehension that they have. So one of the things that we would ask you to do is start now with developing a routine with the kids. Start with innovative mindset or changing the mindset of the kids. It's going to be different, but different doesn't mean bad. And we are offering our teachers the opportunity to create many different videos to say, welcome back. This is what school looks like. This is what we will be asked to do. So that's why our approach is not from a standpoint of it being punitive and punish, but rather it being an understanding that it's different, not only for you, but it's different for us as well. So just as you saw some of the spirit videos, you'll see communications coming from us that will also welcome the kids back and kind of help them understand that we're still Gesu and we're still one community and we still have the same expectations. We'll work on it together. We help each other by being positive in our approach to one another and positive in starting to develop a routine. And if you are coming back to school, be it digital or remote, setting those routines in place is an important piece now. Though we didn't send home a list of summer reading to accomplish or to complete, it's still something that can be done, to find a time where academics or reading is set aside so that the kids start that mindset and are starting to prepare for coming back to school and things, answering their questions and finding a positive time, and know that we're here. If there's somebody who wants to come in, just give us a call and we can show you the classrooms and we can we can take a look at the community, the area where the kids are going to be learning, and we can work with you as well. So.
Great. Next question. Has Gesu considered borrowing space from John Carroll if some spaces areas are not in use or if that is needed? We've had a conversation about that, and the challenge that poses, although that campus is right across the street, is twofold. It's mixing our cohort and their cohort. It is not knowing, although I am sure that they have strong cleaning protocol, we know our cleaning protocol. We can tell that to you. So I'm not sure that any space right now would be willing to bring in outsiders onto a campus, or if we feel that we want to move into a campus where we are not clear how it's been cleaned or when it's been cleaned, or what might be the likelihood that we might cross paths or come across other students who might be at John Carroll. So, at this time, it is in the back of our head, and their campus is across the street from us, but at this time, we will not be using indoor space from John Carroll. How will PE be taught virtually? Great question, Mr. Davidson. Thoughts in my head that go through for PE. Obviously, if it's a student kind of in 7th or 8th grade who has PE first quarter, and a parent has decided that the child should remain remote, we can change that elective, so that child can then take art or technology first quarter as opposed to PE. Mr. Martinick is just looking at me for technology, but we can make some changes and adjustments. If it is another student, say a first grader, and they have PE that day, I think it would be beneficial for them, and I'm speaking personally, this is a conversation that we can continue to have, but I think it would be beneficial for them to be part of PE, to see what is happening in PE, to get the instruction from Mr. Davidson, to have the games, try them at home, try those activities at home. I don't think that PE, as we talk about how much movement we should have, should be something that we just say, we don't need to do at this time. If it's a possibility for a specific remote learner, then we want to make that work. Has there been any thought to changing arrival time based on last name to prevent so many students in the classroom at one time? Example, students with the last name of A through M attending in the morning, and students with the last name N through Z in the afternoon. There are several districts who are structuring their daily arrival this way. Again, yes, we've thought of that. We thought of kind of like the would be considered more of a hybrid model, and if use the information that we received from our survey from our parents, that just decided that it's not a model at this time that we want to move forward with, that we want to try at this time. Any other suggestions?
No, I would agree in that case. When we're looking at a morning start and an afternoon start, I know Chagrin Falls is doing something like that. Where we're sending some of their kids in the morning and some of their kids in the afternoon to reduce the number of kids that are there. Like I said, nothing is closed. Right now, these are the two options that we offer. The reduction and the concerns that have arisen when you talk to people who are in those districts are the reduction in instructional time for kids, and how much less time that they have as far as teaching and learning. So, we will always continue to look at it and see what we can do to improve things. So at this point, we decided that we'd go with these two models.
I think it's challenging, and I think something I hope everyone keeps in mind, as we keep in mind when we make these decisions, is that there's no one model at this point that is perfect for every family. If we were to be changing or using that model, then there would be certain families who would not be able to pick up their child in the middle of the day, or would not, who would also, again, be concerned about the missing or lack of instruction. So we're making decisions that we know, as we said, that this document is fluid, and that we know it's not 100% perfect, as nothing in our country right now is. So we take all of your suggestions, we do the best we can with them, but we are also understanding that at some point we have to pick the model that we're going to move forward with. And that is the two models that we have given the option for you to right now. Will virtual students have access to the school, such as the library to take out books or after school clubs? So I feel that all of our school clubs right now are kind of on hold. I'm not speaking for CYO, I'm just speaking for school clubs, after school clubs, besides 245 Club. So that is something that at the moment we're going to put a hold on after school clubs, which is different than National Junior Honor Society. And will the students have access to take out books from the library? Yes, I think that is something that they would have the ability to do. I think it was something that they'd have to coordinate with Mrs. Round. When would they have access to the school? Is it something that they're coming after school to do? Is it something they're coming before school to do? I think that just would need further communication.
Right, and I think we can handle that on a case-by-case basis. It's something that we can see the interest level in and establish a policy for developing that.
So when will junior high students receive their elective schedules? How will electives work with students unable to switch as they traditionally otherwise would do?
The elective teachers will be going into classrooms as they can, or if they're able to. Foreign language room will be utilized for junior high kids, and they'll be moving from place to place to get that. So we'll be able to handle that with cleaning in between, especially for our kids who are mixed during an elective.
Oh, I did see that one. Yes, you're right, and I missed it. Thank you, Mr. Martinick.
143 was time it was.
Oh, thanks. That's helpful. Thank you. I missed a question. Yes, okay. So will the social distancing requirements mean less time for movement? With younger students, I know how important it is to incorporate movement into their day to help eliminate wiggles and possible attention behavior issues. So our teachers now already utilize a variety of movement activities throughout the day.
You may hear of Go Noodle,
Go Noodle,
which is one of the things that can be electronically displayed for kids to have movement opportunities. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we know in the beginning it's going to be, as we work to stagger kids as they move in and out of the classroom, to and from their locker, to different areas of the school, it will take a little bit longer. And we're building that time into scheduling. So our teachers are aware of that. They're working in teams to help accommodate that, that aspect of movement, and knowing it's especially the social emotional piece for our kids. Be they first floor kids or second floor kids, they need to have an opportunity to move. They need to have an opportunity to just stretch it out a little bit. And we don't want to have the feeling that they have to be maintained and only sitting from 8 to 2:40 if they're here with us face to face. So our teachers will work on that aspect to kind of give them breaks. You might see that or hear your kids saying that they went outside for some activities or reading, and they went outside to take a walk, or they had a scavenger hunt or some activity that was held outside of the confines of their classroom, where they're able to have greater social distancing and just an opportunity to move more freely amongst our campus.
Next question, Mr. Martinick is going to handle. So will remote learning parents be allowed to load parental controls to block other websites and programs on the school's device, or will we be expected to just monitor it for 7 hours a day?
I'm not entirely sure how that works. I'm going to have to look into that a little bit more. A lot of families usually use some sort of a router that blocks their whole internet, or like through Spectrum, they put parental blocks on their home-based internet. We have GoGuardian and Bark that we are able to monitor the device from school. We just can't actually filter your home internet.
But they are school computers, and if we do notice there is something inappropriate going through on school computers, you'll get a call from us saying, heads up, you
Yep.
might want to be aware of what's going on.
Yes, I can attest that this past spring, some of the devices that we loaned out, because of GoGuardian, it will flag when something comes up that is deemed under our guidelines as inappropriate. And so then Mr. Martinick and I work together on, on it to work with parents, work with students. So we do get flagged. And the next question, it was kind of sent privately, but I'm just going to throw it out there as well. So if after-school club study tables are on hold, why are sports still moving forward? It seems close contact across class groups and schools, CYO, is inevitable for soccer, football, and et cetera. I think we as a school are discussing ways to keep school appropriate. I think CYO is something that needs to be brought up to CYO, whether, parents are comfortable with their children being in CYO. That is not necessarily something that I can answer at this moment, or something that we, the three of us meaning, have total control over.
No, that really falls under Mr. Kalkar, and he works with CYO, and CYO has come up with guidelines that they feel are making sports a safe situation for the kids. But if you don't feel that it's safe for your children, then maybe they have to sit it out at this point in time. I mean, it's just like going to the summer camps. Some families sent their children to summer camps, others chose not to.
The next question is, will you resend a survey since so much has changed since the other survey was sent out? At this time, I know that we are going to be maintaining with our 5-day option or our remote learning option. So we are going to move forward with training our teachers and, educating all of you on how those options will work. I think sending out another survey would be wonderful to collect information, and we will continue to send, town hall meetings and continue to send further surveys. But I think if the question, and I might be reading into it too much, if the question is please send another survey so that options can change, I think we're going to be sticking with these two options. And as mentioned, looking at other options down the road. But if we're thinking about what might happen for this coming school year, I think we're going to maintain with these two.
What we will need to do, though, is revise our plan, send out a revised plan, and maybe we can highlight where we made the changes so you don't have to read all 39 pages again. But that's kind of where we'll communicate those things, too.
Has Gesu considered a UV light device that treats the HVAC system much like the one that was installed at Centers Pediatrics in South Euclid?
We did, and look at it. And then we read articles on the lack of safety for UV lights, how extended exposure to the UV light can cause burns, or the timing for which UV exposure would have on things like our library books would not be as effective as we would want them to be. So we do have a wand that the UV wands, but we were actually looking at different devices that would provide more of a, never been to Dr. Sender's office, but a bigger device that would provide UV, and that article kind of scared us off of that purchase because of the safety factors involved in that.
Next question, if you go to 100% remote, are you going to do discounts in tuition? And are you going to do discounts in tuition for those who are starting virtual learning? Are the teachers going to be more active with the students?
I think if in this question, if your concern is that Is virtual learning or remote learning going to be different from what you experienced in the spring of the year? Yes, to a degree. But I will tell you honestly, I feel that our teachers, in comparison, and who I've talked to, did a great job in the virtual learning piece for your kids. No, there will not be a tuition reduction. And from K to 8, I will also say to you, I realize how hard our teachers did work, how they individualized and differentiated within the kids' teaching and learning. And though they were not in attendance in the physical brick and mortar structure of the building, they were attentive to the kids. There are some areas where we recognize there needs to be more than just a Zoom meeting, and then a list of assignments, and then I'll check in with you on Friday. We'll work with individuals in those cases, and we encourage you, if you feel that you're unsatisfied with something that's going on within the classroom or the level of contact that your child's having with the teacher, then let us know. We're all in this. Nobody wants to see that the kids are left to fly solo in any way, shape, or form. So you will see a difference in the remote learning option, and that is the reason why there will be no tuition reduction. Budget restraints on this are big. And we're still providing access to the curriculum, providing the materials and support that's necessary for your kids to learn, even if that learning is remote.
I think this goes along with the question that was just answered, but if schools close, will the virtual learning look similar to that you're described for the full remote learning plan? Will children be on the computer for an amount of time similar to their in-person class time? So yes, we kind of touched on this before, but I know sometimes computers and whatnot go in and out. So yes, students will be asked to be in class, so to speak, throughout the day. With, of course, as I had mentioned, sometimes for breaks. A student is not going to be asked to be on the computer during lunchtime, or asked to be on the computer when would normally be their recess, or be asked to be on their computer when they're doing some silent reading. But yes, it's going to be a full day of school if we go if the entire school goes remote. So it's just the difference between certain students who are choosing to be remote, or the entire school being remote. The instruction will be the same and the curriculum will be the same. For morning drop-off, will older siblings be able to walk their younger siblings to their class, especially younger siblings who are entering kindergarten?
If they have their masks on, yes. The aides will be out and present for drop-off, and right now we're working to finalize some preschool kindergarten drop-off procedures. And we recognize it's that is something that the older kids can do to help to be part of, easing the transition back into school, especially for the little ones who are coming into school full-time.
Is the expectation that kids virtually learning are to be up when school starts, and what at the desk on computer until learning ends, like a full school day? I hope it's being taken into consideration that learning at home is not the same. We agree, learning at home is not 100% the same. It's not in the same confines of being on campus. However, and I kind of stated this earlier, we are delivering an education to students, and we want students to, no matter if they are outside in the grass, in a classroom, or in their office at home, that they are learners and they are being educated in the same way, and that they are taking themselves to be students. This is, as we tell students from time to time, that this is like their job. They have to put in the effort to take in the learning as well. And so, yes, we do expect them to be present when school is present. There is a benefit to that for all learners. How will the health, I hope I didn't miss one. How will the health assessment be delivered and reported to Gesu? Will it be done via an app? So the health assessment will be a list of questions that we ask you to go through each day for your students, whether they have a temperature, a cough, nausea, et cetera, et cetera. It will not be reported to us. And so it will not be done via an app. It is something that we know we are a community and we want to maintain the safety of each other. So it's something that we are asking, just like when I go to a doctor and I have to answer those questions before I go to the doctor. That is something that we are asking that you do for your children.
We will also support it when they come into the classroom by retaking their temperatures, and there'll be signage that's posted in the hallway about common symptoms, and we'll be doing some education and training on the kids if they are aware of things. What do they do if they're not feeling well during the course of the day, that kind of stuff. Our teachers will have access to Progress Book in the morning when they log into their computers. The teachers will have their temperature, daily temperature, and health assessment responses recorded, and we will maintain that for the teachers. But the volume of our day-to-days for our kids wouldn't be possible for us.
Have you considered using plexiglass over each desk?
Availability, and it's cost prohibitive. Are you saying that as a shield around? Or,
I think so.
okay.
I don't think over, I think maybe as a shield.
Okay.
So, this one I'm not sure, maybe it can be restated. As learning in the classroom with
That's a
parents.
follow-up to a previous question where
Okay.
you did answer it.
Okay. Okay, sorry. Would parents of virtual learners who may be ill for a day call into the office so teachers know why the student is not
Yes.
present during the day?
Yes, and that'll be stated in the remote learning document. They would still be required to call in. So if you have a little one who's at home with remote learning and they just don't feel well, you need to call and report the absence to the attendance line. You also notice that there are some differences on the reporting line that you'll be asked about with regard to COVID. So so yes, if they are remote and we are taking attendance with that, you'll have to call and report if someone's not feeling well. Otherwise, we'll mark that person absent.
Since there is no virtual option for preschool, what is the process to unenroll for the school year? We touched on this earlier that at the moment we do not have a virtual option for preschool. Might that change as we proceed? It may. And I think to answer any question about unenrollment, it would be very similar to and how you did enroll, and that would be contacting us. We would love to talk with you. We would love to talk with you through this process. And so I think if anyone is considering that option, we just ask them to give us a call.
It's based on your individual comfort level. And right now, we do understand that the numbers are higher and the concerns are greater. So there's also something as far as unenrolling and wanting to come back at a later time. We can talk with you about it. So just Mrs. Herbert's got the admissions piece, especially with our youngest learners. You know, there's more of a concern about waiting or, you know, initiating preschool at another time so that the kids aren't exposed. And we understand that. So, but give us a call, and Mrs. Herbert will be back in on Monday, and you can call her or you can call any of us. Thank you.
The next is more of just a comment from Father who had to jump off. He has another meeting to attend, but he does say thank you. And he says we're striving to do this in a safe way without compromising our standards or our mission. We are grateful for the wonderful partnership we have with our Gesu campus. The next question, will the drop off or pick up for car riders change, considering that more parents may opt to drop off rather than allowing their children to ride the bus?
We're waiting to have final communication from our biggest districts. We do know that it's going to be intense. So we're looking to expand the drop off a little bit, change it out, have more people out there to help move the flow along a little bit. So there's been some creative engineering as far as the drop off line. Pickup is another story. We're looking at some programs as far as the pickup, but we do know it's going to take a while. So getting there and expecting to have pick up the kids and then go. Maybe this will be one of the great things that happens as a result of COVID, that we'll have an improved drop-off and pickup process. We know it's always been an issue, but know that it's going to take us a while longer. And we are looking at this, and we've talked to University Heights Police so that the safety forces can come out and look at different options. One of the thoughts is that if buses are done, could we use access to in a different place, or allow the drop-off line to continue on to Miramar? It's a thought. It's not a commitment yet, so it's a thought. But we will communicate that to you. As you said, this is ever evolving, and the details regarding this, we know we've only begun to scratch the surface on it, and we don't have the answer to every situation that you'll be facing as things go. But the more you communicate with us, the more we know what we need to fix or adjust or adapt. So.
The next question relates to Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. Other after-school clubs are being suspended right now. They want to know if we meet after school on property, does our total number of students matter? Are we okay to start up if they meet off property? I would imagine Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts would have their own criteria.
Right. I think that they would still have to follow certain protocol. Yeah,
Right.
and we'd have to go through Mrs. Wright. She's over in the parish office for the use of spaces. But know that if any after-school organization is in the school building, their responsibility is to assist in the cleanup and disinfecting of the school building so it's prepared for our kids.
If a student is sick for 3 days and home and they choose in-person learning, can they hop online when they are homesick? Absolutely, yes. That is one of the benefits that is happening right now. If a child is homesick for whatever reason and they feel up to it, obviously if they're too sick to be participating, but if they are homesick, they have the option to jump online. This one is more of a statement. Shaker Transportation has asked that all residents call and make their requests known by August 3rd. Since there is no virtual option for preschool, is it possible to put a hold on enrollment until January 2020, or I'm sorry, 2021? So,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you know what? Yes, you can call us. And like I said, the virtual component is not yet, but yet is the critical word. We'd have to talk about the finances that are involved in it, the number of people that we would have that would be interested. So know that the word yet is first and foremost in that aspect. And if you call us and you're saying, I think I might be okay by January, know that we're okay with that. We're okay with that. And, as things come up, if we can provide a virtual opportunity, the preschool teachers did have opportunities where they read to the kids or interacted with the kids and did some things. It's just a little different to have the level of tuition in preschool and then provide one-to-one, when the real purpose of our day-to-day with our preschoolers is a social interaction with one another. So we'll see what we can do about doing that, but just call us.
The next question, as I read it through, I think it's a great question, but and I'm going to answer it the best I can. In preparing for the event of a possible statewide level 4 closure, we consider forming a team of volunteers interested, John Carroll students, who we could be called upon suddenly to help families with 2 working parents who need someone to aid their young children through a remote learning day. It would be great if we could have a resource document with names and contacts in our back pockets. Thank you for everything else that you are doing. Although I understand the question, I don't think that is something that we can do or we have the ability to do. I understand if parents wish to do that, and I know there may be parents I know in the springtime when college students were home that did that asked around and had a college student at the house. For us to give you a document or a list of names, my concern would be we as a Gesu community sign an acknowledgement agreement. We, as employees, are following certain protocols. So if we give you a document saying that these are the names that we are giving to you, then we'd also have to have them following all those same procedures. And we would not be able to keep that in place. So I would not be able to say that a John Carroll student, has, done the entire health assessment or, has not interacted with other students. And Virtus as well. So, that is something that you can look into since John Carroll was closed, not something that we will provide.
Maybe contact their student services
Absolutely.
department over at John Carroll and see if somebody could organize it.
Absolutely. Stop being so long-winded. Can they bring in their own plexiglass shield? I think we'd have to see it. Yeah. I mean, I think we, yeah. Yeah. End of question. That was just statement, question. Okay, Governor DeWine just said, okay, this is more of a statement. If you are actually exercising, including gym, no masks should be worn. So, okay, we will look into that comment. Rarely, COVID symptoms can escalate quickly, mainly in children with asthma or other respiratory conditions. How the students and teachers will be assessed? Do you have pulse oximeters available? Oxygen available until EMS arrives?
Don't have oxygen available, but we just completed an order for a pulse ox meter to come in so that we can monitor that for the kids. And so that's coming, but I don't think that we have, Aunt Mary, if you're still on, she can answer that question. If not, then we'll find out about that. Okay, but right now we did order the pulse oximeter.
Can students taking advantage of the virtual learning option be able to participate in the discussion learning process that is going on in the classroom while it is happening? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, that is the benefit, and that's actually what we would want to happen. We would want them to be asking questions in the moment. We would want them to be having discussions in the moment, so that they feel just as part of the community and just a part of that class as if they were on campus.
Note, though, that that aspect will not be recorded. There will be opportunities for our teachers to record a lesson. And we've used the example of prime factorization a number of times in our discussions. So as a teacher, I could teach a lesson on prime factorization and focus only on myself, record it, and download it for use looking at. So you at home as a parent who are looking for some help in how to help a child in a difficult concept can access a video that a teacher has taught and said, this is what she meant when she said prime factorization. And you'd have that resource there to help make it consistent between home and school as well.
The next is more of a comment, but it was a very nice comment too. Not that I'm not reading any of these. Truly not an easy process to navigate. I think that our leaders have presented a well thought out plan that is agile to accommodate a number of circumstances, many unforeseen. I think as parents, it is up to us to see our best judgment to determine what is appropriate for each of us. Thank you so much for all your communication and support. I think our school is demonstrating best practice relative to other schools, and I look forward to teaming with our leaders to help our children receive the best education possible. Thank you. I know this was another question relating to elective schedules. So student schedules are going to be created as soon as we have information back on who will be remote and who will be in class. We do have homerooms kind of created right now, but elective schedules will be something that we will be creating, I would say, in the next 3 weeks, Mr. Martin. This is another very nice. Second, that is clear that our leaders have been very thoughtful in planning for our children. What's the protocol when a child gets a fever or develops symptoms while in school? So the protocol for that would be if the child is developing symptoms, including a fever, They would be sent to our secondary clinic and be picked up. It is then, as would be in any other circumstances, we suggest that parents contact the pediatrician to find out what would be the next steps for them to do.
We ask that, and that's why we're asking that emergency contact information be on hand prior to the start of school. So we ask that within the hour, the parents have someone up here to pick up the kids, because we're moving that location closer to the door, the front door. So no longer will you be buzzed in and walk down to the clinic. You'll just be right in by Claire's office, my office, and Judy's office for access to your kids. You also notice that we have a receptionist area that's there. So Mrs. White will be in that. Mrs. White will be in the receptionist area to help you with checking in, to answer your questions, and to complete a health assessment for you, take your temperature, and also will help in the supervision of the kids waiting for you. And the sooner that we can get our kids picked up, the better it will be for them.
Okay. For the students that are virtual learners, how does this work? Can students ask questions? Can they be heard by their teachers? So yes, the students can absolutely ask questions and interact. They can be heard by the teacher, just as if at this time we had set up our Zoom in a different manner and allowed you to, speak freely at this time. We'd be able to hear you. There's also this chat feature that we are using as well. So the student is absolutely interactive throughout the school day. Yes, they're absolutely able to participate and take part in class. So again, it will look different. It may be something that we in some way video or in some way show. I think there's a lot of questions about how it might be different from what was happening in the spring as to what it might look like now.
Right. In fact, one of our professional development opportunities will be a consultant who's coming in to work with our kids. Every classroom, every day, are some of the textbooks that our teachers are going to be reading and participating in, so that if I'm again presenting prime factorization, I'm able then to say, here's the lesson, here's the presentation of the lesson. We're going to stop now and complete numbers 1 through 4. Those of you who are remote, you are going to have a few minutes, whether you're finished or not, to come back into the room, work independently on this, and come back into the room when you're finished within 15 minutes. So the teachers are going to be able to know how to navigate the technology that's in the classroom to include people that are remote. And so that within there as well, they'll be able to say, and to address the kids who are remote, to ask them for their input on a topic or an idea.
Is the extra, okay, sorry. If a child is homesick and is an in-person learner, can they remote until they feel better? Absolutely, yes. Mm-hmm. Thank you for all you're doing. You must be exhausted. We are getting there. Is the expectation to have the virtual students muted to avoid noises and unmuted only when interacting with teachers in class?
There's a couple of different options for that with the swivel. So the swivel marker also has a headphone jack on it. So the teacher could have an earbud in to listen to what the student is saying privately, or it can be attached to a speaker.
Okay. If a parent, family member within the home tests positive for COVID, will you require all students within that home to go remote learning for a period of time? So I believe that would not be our recommendation. I believe that's the Cuyahoga County Board of Health's recommendation, and that's the recommendations that we will follow. So if I'm reading it correctly, if a family member within the home tests positive, will you require all students within that home to go remote for a period of time? I believe that's, as far as I know, that's the quarantine procedure, but we would follow any suggestions or any directives from the Cuyahoga County Board of Health. Okay, if we bring plexiglass partitions for our kids, could they remove masks while sitting in the desk? I believe that's, I have to look further into plexiglass partitions, but I would believe yes, that would provide the safety necessary. If the plexiglass partition is something that is three-sided versus just a one-sided, I think it would also depend on that type of partition.
And we'd still require them to have a mask because they won't have the plexiglass piece with them when they're moving in the hallway or going down to lunch or out to recess, things like that. So a gaiter, a shield, or a gaiter or a mask would still be required for the kids, regardless. I guess I would foresee that the plexiglass be in addition to.
In addition
Yeah.
to, and then work from there. This is a good question, but are you asking for students to not, if you were asking for students to not arrive prior to 7:45, how do you plan on 600 plus students entering in a 15-minute window? I understand that busing may be staggered, but it seems that window may need to be larger, especially considering that all students needing a temperature and health questioned by their teacher.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we're going to have to be flexible on, knowing that our teachers may very well have a sponge activity in the beginning of the time period until the kids are ready and settled, delaying the time of our announcements until we get the routine up and running. The decision is that we are not having a morning club, and that's because we would be mixing cohorts, and at least in the starting process of it. Hopefully we'll be able to access all of the doors as available, and we'll look at the transportation schedule, make that determination. We'll keep you in the loop on that, but we recognize it's not going to be easy, and we will not have it be punitive for the kids.
Okay. Option for parents to pay for morning drop-offs similar to 5 o'clock. Okay, you kind of just
Yeah.
brought up money.
Yeah, we did have morning club. That was a service that was provided for people who were dropped off earlier. However, it mixes too many cohorts in the grade levels through all of them. And with 245, Mrs. Nemeth's going to be able to maintain the cohorts a little stronger by grade level and within the numbers. So that's why it's continuing for 245.
Okay, as for what I see, that is the last question at this point. So, wrap-ups?
Know that we're here and that we'll answer your questions. Give us a call. The date has been extended to the 31st, and we appreciate all that you've done, all the love and concern that you have for your kids. We share with you on this, and this is not an easy decision for anyone. All we can do is make sure that we offer you what we can based on the circumstances that we're facing here within the school. We feel comfortable in being able to say it's been reviewed by Dr. Salata, and he made recommendations that we were able to implement. We will also tell you that on August 4th, University Hospital, in conjunction with PSI, who is our healthcare provider, will come out to look at our school and to see the signage in place, walk through a day with the kids, and know that the professional development will be there for our teachers. If at any point you feel that you're not comfortable, we're a phone call away. We'll make it work for you. We'll work with you any way we can, because no one wants to have your kids at jeopardy or would want the safety of your kids affected. We all know that you come with individual circumstances. They're your life. You have to do what's in the best interest of your kids, and we're here to support you as best that we can. So thank you. We look forward to the next town hall meetings where we're going to walk through the school and show you some of the classrooms. Give us a little week or two to be able to get some of the day-to-day classwork done. Our maintenance team has done a tremendous job and are still working very hard to get things up and running and cleaning the building, etc. So thank you again, and don't hesitate to continue to use communications@gesu.com for any other questions, and watch for continued constant contact from us on Wednesdays. Thanks.